I was robbed years ago. Somebody who knew me came into my house and took a lot of cash and ran. The police could clearly see the footprints. That was a cat. The police could clearly see the footprints in the ground. They could see that my front door was busted in. And their first question to me was, why would you keep cash around? Nobody uses cash. Wrong. People do use cash. And especially in hurricane season, which it was, August, you keep cash around. I don't care if that's 2,000 or 5,000, you keep cash around, because once that storm hits, that's all that's accepted. You cannot use cards. It's just not possible. The machines are all down, and they were down for days. In school, I really, really wish they focused more on teaching finances to kids. So my teenage nieces and nephews, as well as my boys, they don't understand credit, mortgages, how loans work. And we've talked about these things so many times, and I've tried to break it down in a way that they can understand. But something that is definitely a lost art is balancing your checkbook. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, we don't carry checkbooks. Well, a lot of people don't carry checkbooks anymore. But why would you need to balance your checkbook? And in my mind, it's not so much balancing a checkbook anymore. It's knowing what's in your account and where. So what's in your checking, what's in your savings of whatever banks you use. So like, let's say you've got 3 checking accounts and 2 savings accounts, and then other places that you keep your money. At any given time, you need to know what is available, because, and this is just sort of like a real life scenario. When Hurricane Irma was coming, the spaghetti models, as usual, are all over the place. This is Florida. But when the power goes out, when the storm hits, it's usually in the middle of the night and you have no time. But the day prior, like when it's getting close, like when the hurricane is within a certain distance, you know, okay, we need to go get money now. At the ATM, if you find an ATM with money, you better know off the top of your head, because God forbid, with that line behind you, you stand there and go through each account and get the printout of what's in the account and hold people up, because they will start to lose their shit, because everyone is just as panicked, some more than others. But the ones who are not out stocking up on water and things like that are at the ATMs clearing out as much as possible. So like, let's say your bank allows you a maximum of $500 a day. All right. So you need to know what's in each account so that you can pull that 500 from each account and get as much cash on you as possible. Because, and I'll say this again, it took 8 days to get power back at my house. Anyway, so that means anything within the area of my house also took 8 days. You need to know. You need to know how to get that information quickly and be clear about it. As far as your credit score, that can determine a lot of things. That can determine, will you be able to buy a house? Will you be able to buy a car? At what rate will you be paying on that loan? You're going to get a lower rate with a higher credit score. There are jobs where you won't get that job if your credit score is crap, because even though it shouldn't really matter, it does show how you handle things, how you manage things, and it kind of gives a snapshot on certain people. Although there are people who they don't use credit for anything, and I've heard it said before, and I'm sure I'll hear it again. Bad credit is better than no credit, as sad as it is in this world. So if you take care of everything with cash, you don't have credit. And to lenders and everyone else, you you are pretty useless because they don't know how you're going to handle that money. So let's say you've paid for everything with cash and then you go to buy a house. You're going to have a hell of a time getting a mortgage. A lot of people would say, well, if you paid for everything with cash, why can't you get a house with cash? Have you seen what a house costs? I mean, the 10 acres I'm on now with 1,500 square foot house, I bought it in 2018. Do you want to guess what I paid for it? Because I was on Zillow or Realtor or something the other day, and I found a house of a comparable size that was 15 years older than my house and in deplorable condition on less than 1 acre. I'm on over 10 acres, less than 1 acre. And they wanted $110,000 for this crappy, older it was smaller manufactured house on less than 1 acre. I believe it was like a 1985 manufactured. And banks do not give mortgages on old manufactured homes like that. They won't. It's a liability. They were built very different back then. It's just a flat no. But what I paid for this 10 plus acres, bigger house, newer house versus that, I was shocked. I mean, it gave me a really good idea of where prices are now. And if you're trying to buy a house without buying it cash right now, you gotta have a lot of money, a lot. And most people need a mortgage for that, especially after the way the last couple of years have gone. So I bought my first house at 18. I not only saved up money for a long time, but I kept my credit in really good shape. I was given a credit card with a $10,000 max at 18. Now, I know things have probably changed since then, and they're not going to give an 18-year-old a $10,000 limit on a credit card, but I did not treat it like it had a $10,000 limit. I treated it like it had a $300 limit, and I put my gas and groceries on it and paid it off every month, which really helped things out when it came time to buy a house a year later, because I closed on it just before my 19th birthday. And that would not have been possible with a bad credit score. It just wouldn't have happened. Well, it might have happened, but it would have been at a really bad rate. If it happened at all. My nephew has a huge goal of moving out as soon as he turns 18. I mean, as soon as he graduates high school, he wants out. And that should line up with, I don't know, maybe his 18th birthday, possibly closer to his 19th birthday. But if he wants to do that, if he wants to move out, even renting a place, you have to have a good credit score. And you have to have reliable income. You have to have your first, last, and security to rent a place, because in this market, yeah, he's not going to be 18 soon, but let's say things don't go back to normal for several years. He's going to have to rent. And to do that, he'll need a good credit score. He doesn't want to stay at home. And I get it. A lot of kids want to leave. They want to go. Even if he goes to school, he'll still need to find a place to live. Not without a good credit score. Sorry, it's the way it is. So, if you want your credit score to be good, let's say you're 18 years old and you can get an unsecured credit card. Even if you can only get a secured credit card, meaning that you put in, so let's say it's a $500 secured credit card. You pay $500 and then you have that $500 available for that credit card. you use it as a credit card and you pay it off each month. Now, it's secured because if you don't make that payment, the credit card company is backed up. They are then able to keep that amount of money and they're covered. It is secured. If it's unsecured, that credit card, that $500, is being loaned to you by the credit card company, and whatever amount of it you use, you pay off each month, whatever the case may be. Now, if you don't pay it off in full each month, you are given a APR or annual percentage rate to where whatever amount is over. So let's say you've got that $500 unsecured and you use $200, but you only pay $25 a month. So that $175 is gaining that interest rate each month it sits without being paid. If you're in some of the recent credit cards, that could be a 35% rate, which is horrible, meaning that every single dollar over you are is getting an extra 35% added onto it that credit card company will then keep for always and forever. Every month you go over, they're going to take this percentage out and keep it. And I believe it's per year that it's a $35 percentage. So percentage rates are kind of a fine art to understand. Like if you get a loan for $5,000 and that's at a 7% rate, that doesn't mean 7% of $5,000. That's, if it's a 5-year, it's 7% of the 5,000 per year. It gets messy. The point is, the lower you can get your interest, the better. But get yourself a credit card, secured or unsecured. Start building your credit and treat credit as cash. Meaning, if you're going to buy gas with cash, have that cash in your bank account, buy your gas on the credit card. At the end of the month, or whenever your due date is, pay for that gas in full. Pay for whatever those few things are. And get yourself in the habit of doing that. Get yourself in the habit of only putting on your credit card what you would be buying in cash anyway. The money that you have in the bank, or that will be coming in your paycheck at the end of the week that you've worked for, so you know it's showing up. And pay that off in full each month. That is the best way to handle credit. Keep doing that. Get yourself in the habit of doing that. Do not stray from that. I don't care how much you want the new iPhone. Do not buy the new iPhone unless you have cash for it. God help me. I don't understand why people take out these huge loans to buy things they don't need, or look at it like, oh, well, I can borrow the money, so that must mean I can afford it. No, you can afford what you have cash for. But building your credit is a very important thing to do. When it comes time to buy a car, buy a house, whatever, you're going to get a better interest rate, a better APR. That's when it matters. That's when you use your buying power. That's when you use your interest rate. That's when you use your credit score for big things that you wouldn't normally have the cash for. And oftentimes, if you can get a really great interest rate, it makes more sense to have that loan and carry it for the full 30 years than it does to pay it off early. Because there are loans where if you pay it off early, you have to pay a penalty. I always make sure if I get a loan that there is no early payment penalty. I do not want a loan with an early payment penalty. And the reason they do that is because they want that interest rate. They want that interest money. They have plans for it. They're doing all kinds of things with stocks and whatnot. Oh, Jackie Candace here. So I just wanted to make it super clear that I'm not trying to be a financial advisor to anyone. I more or less think of it like a YouTube mom and trying to give out information that I wish I knew, I wish I had access to when I was younger, growing up. And I mean, even in recent years, there are times when I've asked bankers questions just because I didn't know the answer. So I'm hoping to kind of throw some of this information out there. And for those, I know this is wildly different from my usual content. I know I don't have a normal type of content. I went at this with a normal type, but totally derailed. Anyway, these are things I wish I knew. And again, I know there are people out there that maybe want more information or don't even know that they want more information and will need to know some of these things at one point or another, and or they will be in a relationship with somebody who needs this information. It's just not readily available and it's not clearly explained. But another thing with loans, origination fees. Pay attention to that. Early payoff and origination fees along with your APR. So, big deal stuff. Very important. Keep your credit score in good shape. I mean, start young. Treat it like cash. I don't care what your limit is. You always keep that balance low. Treat your credit card as if it is cash in the bank. You've already worked those hours. That paycheck is coming your way for sure. Not, you will be working those hours this week. Therefore, no, you've already worked them. That check is on its way. That's what I'm saying you can spend to keep your credit score high. If you want to go and blow your credit, that's on you. But there are ways. There are ways to make it work. Okay? Good luck.